Well, I won't say that I was going to give myself a heart attack because we don't want to focus on something negative. But I was definitely having, issues that I would say this is not healthy to feel this way. He said, I agree with everything you say. I'm going to prove you wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I want to be right. I want to help you. My goal is to help you with your business. And instead, I agree with everything you say. I'm going to prove you wrong. Now he's out of business. Body blows and exhausting when I work with you guys because you're like, you're so intense on it.
You love it.
I do. Well, I like the results of it. I'll put it that way. I'm Greg Wittstock, the Pond Guy, founder of Aquascape Inc., and this is my podcast. I love my job, and here's how you can too.
Welcome to Your True Alchemy, where we talk about ancient wisdom meets modern mastery and how you can apply this wisdom to your health, your business, and your life. And we have a special guest today that has taken modern mastery to, I would say, the next level, because you're doing what you love.
Yes.
And you're impacting the world, and you're making money doing that.
Yes.
So
welcome, Greg Wittstock.
Yes.
The Pond Guy.
The Pond Guy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Super excited. You have a beautiful studio. I feel very comfortable just having a cup of coffee. We're having a chat, and there might be some cameras here, but I'm just very appreciative of you doing this after the journey that we've been on over the last, 4 or 5 months together.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So some of you listeners may not know that we manifested this man. We literally manifested him into reality. So back when we lived in Texas, we had a ranch. And
we had the ranch, and we had a very ugly 2-acre pond. We wanted to do something with it, and great water. And I was binging on all these YouTube videos of what to do with this pond. And I was like, who is this pond guy? It was really, incredible projects that I saw you do. And I was like, this is fascinating. I saw this one that I think was in Georgia. It was huge. And I was like, that's just like our pond. Maybe we could do this massive waterfall in the back. Well, anyways, my wife, she shot that idea down. It sounded like a lot of money, and it was probably going to be an awful lot of money.
It would have been worth it if
Greg
it was
and
the
Elena
right
shot
ranch.
it down. Elena was on board more than Greg. And I was like, well, whatever. You guys don't want to do this? That's fine. I still want to meet this guy. And I had this vision of this guy just seems like an fascinating human being. And truly what you were doing, I was like, this guy built a business out of building aquascapes. And I was like, I want to meet this guy. So fast forward 3 years, we moved to Utah, and on the trail below our house, we're running the dog. At least this is the first time I met you, because I know you met Deb before.
No, we met her on the trail too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're running the dogs, and then all of a sudden the pond guy shows up on his bike with Willow, and we're literally 3 houses down from each other.
Yeah.
I know.
That's
the power of prayer too. And one of
fate.
the things that we pray every day is that we connect with people that are here to help each other change the world. And I really do believe that you are changing the world through creativity and art.
Thank you.
You're turning people's backyards or wherever beautiful space they have into beauty and sanctuary through the work you do. So thank you so much for being here today. And just thank you for what you do, Greg.
Well, thank you guys. And I was going to say, be careful what you wish for, but I know that would be a negative thought, so I won't say that. Yeah, no, listen.
as long as it's positive things.
Yeah, you've helped me out greatly. And I think this would be very certainly interesting to the people I work with, on this. And then whatever your followers can get out of it, let's do it.
So tell us a little bit. I know that your people know your story, but our people don't really know your story. And you've grown a very successful business. And this is what people, this is in the entrepreneur space, is like, well, I don't know if I can make money doing what I love. And I feel like you've broken that belief system right open. So
whether you believe you can or you can't, you're correct.
Right.
So I never even doubted that, because this business did not start off to be like my career. I fell into it as a career. I fell into it as a hobby. Back in 1982, I will date myself, older than both of you guys. You weren't even born in 1982.
I was.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
That's my birthday. Keep going.
Okay. So I grew up in New Jersey. Great life, Huckleberry Finn life, catching turtles, fishing frogs, and having a great life out there in southern Jersey, New Jersey Pine Barrens. And then one day my dad got a corporate transfer to Chicago. And I remember the first thing my mom I said was, you expect me to give up the Eagles and the Phillies and the Sixers for the Bears and the Bulls and the Cubs? And because I was a big sports fan, too, still am. But in 1982, we were going to move to Chicago. So she promised me, they felt bad, that I can bring 11 of my pet turtles with me and put a pond in the backyard, our new backyard house. So the bottom drawer from the refrigerator. I filled it with some water, put my turtles in there, drove them 16, 17 hours in the family station wagon. I mean, it's like the Walt Griswolds or whatever. And went in the backyard and started. The second day I was in May of 1982, I was out there. I was digging the hole for the pond. And my mom freaked out. She thought it was, too big. And how do you think I learned about how to build ponds? Like and this is the days before the internet. So where do you think I went to find out about pond information?
The library?
The library. Drove my bike to the library. Every book, there was no books from the U.S. It was all from England, like traditional water gardening in England, and it was Japanese koi ponds. But they both said the same thing, to build the pond out of concrete to make it strong. And my dad was my hobbyist too. Like we had aquariums together, and we were doing this project together. I was 12 years old, but we got concrete and we built that pond, and it leaked, turned green, and my prize turtles began migrating out of the pond in a way. So everything was foobarred right off of the beginning, but I was not discouraged. So every year I would rip it out and rebuild it. And after 2 years of trying to fix a cracked concrete pond, because in the ground in Chicago or in Utah or wherever it freezes and thaws, I put a rubber liner down. My pumps were getting clogged. I put them in a garbage basket that I used a laundry net as a skimmer. My filter was undersized, so I used a Rubbermaid cattle trough that you would see like in the fields and stuff. And I MacGyvered up, Jimmy rigged up my own products in my backyard, and that became my classroom. And after ripping out and rebuilding and tinkering around with my backyard classroom for 7 years, neighbors would come over and go, "This is beautiful." And then one day, I was, of course, tinkering in the pond, and the UPS guy rang the doorbell, and I go, "Come around back." And I'll never forget it. He turned the corner, and he's holding the box, and he goes, "This is beautiful. How did you ever buy a house with a natural spring on it?" Which is a great compliment to a pond builder. I'm like, "No, man, I built it." And he's like, "Could you build me one?" And I thought, I was a 20-year-old kid.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm like, "Yeah, I could build you one." And so that was literally the genesis of the idea that I can do this for other people. And I told my mom and my dad that that next summer, that was the summer of 1990, I wanted to start a pond building business. And all I needed was a strong back, a wheelbarrow, and a shovel. I already had a strong back from playing sports. And that Christmas, I got a wheelbarrow and a shovel beneath the Christmas tree. And voila, Aquascape was born back as a 21-year-old college kid. And even then, for the first 2 seasons, it was just something fun to do to make money, in the summer. And then the front page of the Chicago Tribune newspaper, which is the biggest paper in Chicago, ran a feature story in 700,000 editions called Jan Golden Pond, young landscape artist Greg Whitstock builds backyard habitats for fish and plants. And my phone exploded.
Wow. And
hundreds of people called me. This is the day when, once again, before the internet, people read newspapers. And I'm like, I remember the first Saturday, August 2nd, 1992 was a Sunday. The next Saturday, I had 8 design consults set up to go look at people's backyards. And I will never forget coming home at 6:30 or so at night, my mom, my dad, and my sister sitting at the kitchen table, reaching into my back pocket and pulling out $38,000 in deposit checks.
What?
And it was like, I'm booked up for the rest of the year, And that's when my dad, he came on. I was out in the field, so he came on and started handling the calls, going on the consultations and stuff. And I was out building ponds, and then I went back to college, and then that next season, Aquascape was officially full time. So,
Wow.
So it's been a summer gig in 91 and 92, and then full time since 93. In 1994, I patented the products, the garbage can that I used for the skimmer and the cattle trough that I used.
That was your first patent?
I was 24 years old. I got a U.S. patent. I didn't even think twice of it. I go, "Oh, this is cool." But now I look back and I'm like, "Dang, that's impressive." Like I was 24, but it was I was just doing what I loved, And then in 1995, so I got my patent in 94 and 95. So I was 25. That's when I launched my manufacturing and supply business. So I started to produce the filters that I was, originally conceptually made out of garbage cans and skimmers, and started shipping them to contractors all over the world. And the business just exploded. We became an Inc. 500 fastest growing privately held company 4 years in a row. We had 2,279%, 5-year growth rate. And I built it up to a $16 million business, resupplying primarily contractors all over the world with my patented products and systems to build water features.
How did you know to patent at such a young age? 24
Right.
years old is pretty
Well,
young.
I had a unique product. No one else manufactured this. In fact, Aquascape in 1995, when we started, or 1994, when I got my patent, we were the first people that ever looked at. Nobody else manufactured professional grade equipment. It was all hobbyist based industry. Now there were professionally built ponds, but they would just assemble things individually. They wouldn't buy something off the shelf. And so I thought it was a unique way of doing things. And I had some coaches. I've always had coaches like you guys now for a different type of coaching. And one of my coaches was a man named Lance Dickinson. He worked for Arthur Andersen at the time, if you remember that name. It's now Accenture, which is the world's largest consulting firm. And he was there with me when I decided to, when I was actually going to take my idea and franchise it because I had a patented product and I had a unique approach, 20 products and 20 steps to build water features. And I'll never forget, I had been building ponds in Ohio and Columbus where I was finishing up my college degree. I was building ponds in Chicago, building ponds in Columbus. My dad was running the crew in Chicago. I was running a couple fraternity brothers and friends out in college doing this. And I remember I had 3 or 4 people that were interested in purchasing the business as a first franchise. And I spent all my profits from 1993 and 1994 to patent the products and then also franchise my idea. And in 1994, that's the year I graduated college. It took me 6 years to get my 4-year degree because I was building ponds. I remember approaching a business owner that was, interested in buying it. And I said, I'm going to sell these franchises for territories for $50,000 each. But because you're the very first one, I'm going to do 2 things. One, you get me because I'm going to work hard to make sure you're successful so that I could put a spotlight on you. And 2, I'm going to sell it to you for half cost, $25,000. And Rick Winnestaffer, a company called Windscapes, right outside of Columbus, puts his hand out and he goes, "You got a deal." And before I could pull my hand back, he said, "That does include your pickup truck too, doesn't it?" Which is probably a $15,000 truck, right? I'm like, oh my gosh. And I am telling you immediately, I go, this idea will never work. Contractors don't have $25,000 sitting in the bank account, let alone 50 that I would go to sell this. And I remember going back to Lance Dickinson, being pretty beat up and sorry for myself and saying, man, I wasted all my money and I wasted a year of my time with this concept. And he said to me, the one thing I didn't want to hear, but was exactly what I needed to hear was, "This will be a good lesson for you, kid." And I, of course, didn't want to hear that, but it was right because 6 months later I pivoted and started to, instead of keeping this, even though I had a unique product and a unique system, instead of keeping it to individual franchise owners, I decided to do a mail order business and ship our products out through a mail order business. And that's what really was a genius behind the business because it exploded out there. I went from mailing 26,000 catalogs my first year to at my peak in the early 2000s, mailing out over 3.2 million catalogs a year, direct to contractors saying, "Here's your pond kits and here's how we build ponds," and selling them the products.
I find it fascinating of this thing that you just said to me that nobody asked you the questions that you would ask yourself if you were trying to go back and create success in your business.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I would think that, I don't get asked nearly enough, what made you, how did you do this? And I'll tell you. So a story that I love to do to illustrate the point is when in 1995, when I moved out of my garage into my first industrial park warehouse building with a dock bay, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world, where trucks could pull up and, I think 1,800 square feet is how big it was. And I thought I'd arrived. I was pretty proud. I put my inventory in this thing. The guys are going to come here to the job, the thing. And then on the corner was a company called In the Swim. This is in West Chicago, Illinois, the 40 miles outside of the town, outside of the city. And I'm like, they must do something with water, swim. I'm going to go over there. So the first week, within a couple of days of me moving in, I walked into the front door and went right up to the receptionist. I was like, "Hey, I'm Greg Witzak, the pond guy. I'm your new neighbor. I'd love to find what do you guys do over here? Can I talk to the owner?" Now, what do you think the receptionist said to me when I said that?
What?
No.
She said, "Well, let me see if Mr. Coxworth is available."
Really? Oh.
So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all.
Wasn't a gatekeeper.
Listen, I'm looking at all these pictures of girls in bikinis and stuff, and it was all these catalogs, and I'm like, oh, they must do swimming pool stuff, girls in floaties, and they sell chlorine and stuff. And I'm looking at them in the lobby, and about 5 minutes later, in walks Jim Coxworth. He's 6'4". He's a former hammer thrower from University of Arizona. I go, "Hey, I'm Greg Witzak, the pond guy," and he goes, "I'm Jim Coxworth, the pool guy," And it was crazy. I go, "I'd love to see you. Join. I'm your new neighbor," And it was crazy because I just picked it at the perfect time because for the next hour and a half, he gave me a tour of his facility. He said, here's my customer service. Here's my accounting area. I really loved the warehouse because he had rollers going into UPS trucks to ship out like chlorine to people. And, I just thought it was so cool. And at the very end, we sat down at his office. And of course, he didn't have an hour and a half. He just made an hour and a half because what were we talking about?
His business.
His favorite thing, him. What he did. I'm just like a curious young guy. Like, how did you do this? That was the thing. He had a 20-some thousand square foot warehouse and I had an 1,800. So of course I just knocked on the door and said, what do you do? Like, how do you do it? And then I asked him this question that almost no one ever asks me. That's just like breathing. I said, what's the best business decision you ever made in your life? Kind of a good question.
What's the best business decision you've ever made in your life?
And he said, that's easy. He said, hiring a direct mail marketing company. Guess what my follow-up question was to that?
How did you do it?
No.
Who?
I go, what's a direct mail marketing company? I don't know what this is. Oh, okay, here's what they do. And he said they rent lists from trade shows, from magazines, where people read magazines, and we mail a certain amount of our catalogs, and the ones that perform better with more sales, we mail more to. The ones that don't, we either mail less to or get rid of. I'm like, that's interesting. And this is really cool. And he goes, yeah, I hired a consulting firm that, does this for me. And it was, Peter Henry and Gene O'Keefe. And he goes, I got a card around here somewhere. And he reaches into his thing and he pulls out a card that says O'Keefe Henry Direct. And now this is the most amazing part of this whole story. I said, thank you, Mr. Coxworth. Very nice meeting you. I walked out his front door, walked, quarter mile down the block and went into my massive 1,800 square foot place that I was until then pretty proud of. And I went into the office. I sat down. I put the business card on my desk and I picked up the phone and I called the number on the card.
You took action right away.
Right.
Can you believe it?
Most people don't do
How
that.
much rocket science is this? What's the best business you ever made? He tells me, gives me a card, and then I immediately called the card. Like, how hard is this? Rocket science for many people. And a week and a half later, a BMW shows up into my industrial park, pulls in. It was Peter Henry and Gene O'Keefe get out. They come into my office, and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. You work with the neighbor. I'd love to talk about working with you. And they gave me this whole spiel about how they rent things and then X number of pennies per list and how you do it. And I understood like a third of it, whatever. I said, okay, well, how much would it cost to hire you? And they said $4,200. Remember, this is it's a lot of money back in 1995 when you're, just getting started and everything else. I go, man, that's a lot of money. And they go, per month.
And you were like,
I go, $4,200 per month. That's how much it would cost for you to manage my list. And he goes, yeah. I said, okay, that's a lot of money. I go, how much time are you going to spend on my account each month? Oh, probably 3 to 4 hours. I go, wait a minute. I'm going to pay you $4,000. I could hire a full-time 50-hour-a-week employee to do this for that amount of money. And they said, yeah, you could. Just wouldn't be as good as us. Now, were they a proven or an unproven commodity to me?
proven.
I have an 1,800 square foot warehouse. This guy's got a 22,000 square foot warehouse. Ask me what the best business decision I ever did was.
You put your money where the mouth is?
Start a YouTube channel. But the second best decision was hiring Peter Henry and Gene O'Keefe.
Yeah.
And I went from mailing 26,000 catalogs to a rental list from Dun & Bradstreet to mailing 3.2 million catalogs. And my sales went from 191,000 to 60 million.
But you hadn't even done mail catalogs yet? Or
No. I had mailed one time.
Oh, you did?
I argued with them. I said, you don't understand pond contractors. You see, when my catalog comes in the mail and it says P, they put it under P in their file cabinet. And then when the next week or the next month, when somebody asks for a pond, they go back to their office and they pull out the catalog for ponds and they order a pond kit. And they go, you don't understand people. You have to mail the catalog the day after they went to somebody's house to design a pond. And then your catalog came up. And if you strike at the right time, they'll call you because they'll throw their catalog away or they won't be able to find it when they are on a consultation. Proven entity or unproven entity? I rolled the dice and went with them because of the guys with the bigger warehouse next to me. Now, I psychoanalyzed this. And I thought, I go, well, first it took some cojones to walk over next door.
Right.
You know? And then it took action to actually hear some advice and then follow up with it. Then it took risk to be able to say, that's a lot of money, $4,200 a month, but they're a proven entity. So all of these things, if you tripped up on any one of them, it wouldn't have been the best business decision, right? And so this is, I guess, to me, this is just how I organically operate. And I think some other people or a lot of other people would fall down somewhere on the way. Primarily, the last one being taking action on what you hear. If you heard about doing something, then take action on it and do it.
Yeah. Well, I know people that would have a challenge just going inside and asking for the business owner. And I know people that would also lose action by getting that beautiful gold nugget and then not taking action on it. And then I also know people that would allow their fear and their money blocks to get in the way of investing $4,200 back in the 90s.
Right. Per month.
Per month. And how long was the contract for?
That was a year. But it wasn't just the $4,200. You had to pay like 6 or 7 cents per name that you rented.
On top.
Yeah, it cost me. There's so many things that we could unpack here, but I have to, unfortunately, I have to go into this part of the story. It cost 45 cents a book to mail a catalog back then. That was the rented list at 6 or 7 cents a name, the printing and the mailing. It was under 50 cents. And so I was mailing 26,000 catalogs the one time that I mailed before that. And they're like, no, you have to do multiple drops a year. You have to do this, blah, 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 blah. And so what happened was, and this is so interesting, and this is still driving my marketing philosophy to this day, where they said it's a numbers game. And so you have to mail X number of catalogs to get X number of a return rate. And so I'm going to ask you a question. 3.2 million catalogs mailed. What percent of those catalogs actually resulted in a sale, do you think? If you were to just give me a number off the top of your head.
20%?
20%?
10?
10%? 0.7%.
What?
Wow.
So for every 110 catalogs I mailed, I'd get 1 sale. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Was that a successful campaign?
Sure.
Well, it depends on what it brought in.
At 3 million.
So this is the key.
It's a numbers game.
So it's a numbers game.
The volume.
So it cost me 50 cents to mail a catalog, 45 cents to mail a catalog. It was less than 1% response rate. So, but the average, so 110, catalogs to get, 1 sale, So it cost me $50 to get a sale, but the average ticket was $1,400.
Bam.
Would you spend $50 to get a $1,400 sale? Let's say it's 50% profit. It's $50 to make $700.
Right.
All day long to the cows come home. And that's how I went from 26,000 to 200,000 to $1 million to 3.2 million, because I just kept mailing more and more and more. So I didn't care about the percent return. I cared about what that percent was. If you're selling Ferraris, and it costs you $1,000 to do the mailing, and you sell so it cost me 50 cents, or it cost me $50 to bring in $1,400 or $700 out of 50% gross profit.
Wow.
And so I apply this lesson to this day, and people don't do it. They don't listen to me. They don't understand it. They have money blocks, all the things that you understand better than I do. But I'm like, hey, there's this thing called this coffee table book that I gave to you guys, and it costs you $25. But it's a $25 investment and not an expense. And maybe before you go to somebody's house, open up their mind for possibilities by mailing this book ahead of time. Well, I don't know if I'm going to get the sale. People, they trip themselves up all the time. If I bump into somebody on the street, I give them a coffee table book, because if 1 in 100 results in a $500,000 sale, it pays for itself all day long. Even if 1 in 10, let's go at 0.7%. If you give 100 books at $250 a book, so $2,500 it costs you, and you sell a $100,000 pond, which, by the way, is not that big of a deal. That's not even your rec pond in your backyard. Your place in would have been a couple $100,000 for your multiple acre lake to finish it. Yeah. Then you just paid for all of those books exponentially over. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, and it just keeps going. And I could just keep going on with this marketing, quote unquote, genius stuff. It's like, when you leave the property, make sure you leave some extra books, because the people are going to show up and go, oh, this is amazing. Hey, here's a book from these guys, know? And
it's a lifetime customer value thing too. It's a lifetime value of the customer. Like, it's creating this lifelong relationship.
Oh, they didn't buy when I went there, so I took the book back. Like, you took the book back? like they've already raised their hand. So I had so here's how this guy analyzed it. I didn't do anything. I didn't analyze the stuff. They gave me a monthly report on what happened. It said buyers. First of all, do you know what the half-life is of something? So the marketing half-life is 6 weeks. So it took 6 weeks to do 50% of the revenue from that catalog. And the other 60 years would be the other 50%. You know what I'm saying? So it would exponentially, after 6 weeks, it would start precipitously dropping down to, obviously, after a year or two, it would be zero, right?
So after every mail, you had like 6 weeks where you guys are going to make that.
That's the half-life.
That's cool.
But I didn't know any of this stuff, but I was wise enough to knock on the neighbor's door and then hire the people and then listen to them. So every month they would send me a report. I do a phone call. They come in once a year. I meet with them once a year. And the phone call, and we would analyze the lists. And they'd say, oh, it would be 0 to 12 month buyers, 12 to 24 month buyers, 48 plus month buyers. We actually would track people, and 48 month requesters, somebody that dropped in a business card at a seminar, at a trade show, we could mail catalogs to them to up to 4 years before they'd fall off the list. If they didn't buy for 4 years, multiple mailings a year, we'd take them off the list. But imagine if you would, if statistically, if you stopped after 3 years, you'd make less money. I could still mail to someone for 4 straight years that just dropped a business card off at a trade show, and enough people would buy it every single time we mailed the catalogs. People would call us up and say, "Stop mailing me catalogs."
Really?
Because it's junk mail for some people, right? And we would say, "Stop buying," and they'll say, "I've never bought from you," and I go, "Yeah, but enough of you have." Right? It's a numbers game. Now we mail virtually no catalogs, and whatever 10,000, but I do three times a week posts on YouTube, right? Social media. And the reason I say social, best two business decisions: hiring a direct mail marketing firm and then starting social media, because now I can communicate with a worldwide audience all over the world about what it is that we do and show it, because we are a very visual thing. With turtles and fish and frogs and waterfalls and lilies. And so it's a very easy thing to do.
For next to no production cost for the most part.
We've got it streamlined. We do outside editors in India and in the Philippines. I have a few internal people, for it, but for the production value, to the reward. And then of course our customers have modeled us and started their own things.
I was going to say, it's almost like you replace the mail catalog
yes,
with the YouTube book.
100%.
Or the project book.
100%.
How'd you get that idea?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. No one's ever asked me that. Fascinating, huh? No one's ever asked me that. I was trying to, before we were your neighbors, we had bought a lot we were going to build in Red Ledges. And I was interviewing people to build the house, builders out here. And one of the builders, Big D Construction, gave me a book of their work. And I go, this is beautiful. Look at all these really cool Utah homes that they've done. I'm like, we should do this for ponds.
So you just started putting that together.
Oh, the book has been around for
4 years.
4 years. We've done 6. I think we're on either 6 or 7 printings of it now. Tens of maybe I don't actually know the number, but I know we've done 6 or 7 print runs, and I've been doing it for the last 4 years. And it's not just the projects from Aquascape; it's the projects from all the certified Aquascape contractors. Another benefit of being the CACs, you get to be in a book. If you're a certified contractor and you've submitted images, you'll be in the book. It might be this big, it might be a spread, depending on the layout, but you're still in the book. And then, of course, those guys, they don't even understand this, but you just say, these are the systems that we install. And of course, if you're a newer CAC and it's over your head, you just bring in an experienced CAC to do it, and help you with it.
Totally.
That's the whole collaboration nation. And business is a team sport, which is next year's Pandemonium theme.
So when they get through the academy, all these CACs, that's where you're teaching them the marketing model of, hey, present the book, mail it as soon as you talk to them. So by the time,
I love that you're teaching marketing now too.
Because the reality is, I'm just like, because this is something I got from my mentor, Rhonda.
Please.
Rhonda, they built a $25 million a year real estate company and focused on for sale by owners, right? Think about it, for sale by owner. If you thought about selling your house, a lot of people go, maybe I'll try without a realtor. Right. And what they're already doing is raising their hand to say, I'm interested in selling my house. They'll put it on Zillow, Craigslist, for sale by owner postings, whatever. But she was like, okay, mail out 6 postcards every week for 6 weeks. And like, sure as shit, it gets results. It's incredible.
Right.
And the postcard would be like something funny, right? Like one thing's going to get a lot less painful: 6th grade band concerts and selling your house.
Right, sure.
Right, like make a shuffle happen, or or going to the dentist, right? Something stupid, right? And it was fascinating because it was just like I would be cold calling these people at the same time they're getting all my postcards. And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Yager, I got your 3rd postcard," right? And they're like, "I got all 4 of them on the fridge." right? And so it's like, it's the same thing. It's top of mind awareness. You're continuing to just mail out these mail order magazines. And if you're mailing out this YouTube book, which it's a gorgeous coffee table book, like, I don't know. I mean,
Well, there's a perceived value in there.
Yeah.
And so we talked earlier about, charging a consultation fee. One of the things that in our enthusiasm, which people have different levels of enthusiasm based on how they're wired, right? They say, well, one of the things when we'll have a designer come out, we would like to mail you a portfolio book ahead of time. Can we get your mailing address? So they build up, they hype up, they get excited. And then when they say, oh, we do have a $500 consultation fee that we can apply to the deposit if you go with our services. Oh, okay, great. Like, would you like to pay that with a credit card? Like we get to collect the check, or collect the payment before you go. And by the way, if they pay $500, they're going to both be there because you want both parties there. Oh, don't worry, my husband's not in charge of this. I am. Well, I will help you convince him to get the pond. I'm on your side.
Well, and I love it because.
But that's brilliant. Don't glaze over what he just said. Because what you just said was huge. If contractors in the community are not getting this $500 initial consultation fee,
or $250 or whatever it is,
whatever they charge,
skin in the game.
At least they charge something. The commitment's right up front. You've got both parties showing up, which is a
Correct.
major decision. So you want husband and wife there. You want the couple there.
No matter who it is.
No matter who it is.
They're not going to float a $30, $40, $50, $100,000 decision without talking to their spouse. So you want their spouse there to hear right from you.
Well,
both people are there. The decision makers must be there.
You guys are big into this psychology and stuff like this, which is what your thing is. This is very interesting. And I learned, listening to one of our customers, I said, it's very interesting. And she was a psychologist. She's now a full-time pond builder, psychologist turned pond builder.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is cool.
And she said, it's so interesting because every time we build a pond, one person wants it more than the other, a water feature. But always the person who didn't want it as much as the person who did is the one who gets more enthusiastic about it when it's done. And she said, oh, that's so easy. I'm like, well, why? Like, explain this to me. And you know what she said?
What? She
said the person who didn't want it as much, 30% or 40% as much as the other guy that was 60 or 70% more, is the one who had the anxiety about it that doesn't go out to fruition. So because they had so much anxiety, they didn't want to spend the money. They didn't think it'd be too much maintenance, whatever it is. When it doesn't come out to that, they're more excited because they were the ones that, had this limiting belief. And so it's so interesting because pretty much all the time, without fail, is one person wants it more than the other, but the person who doesn't want it is the one who gets more excited than the person who gets it because he already knew it would be beautiful or whatever.
Exactly. And usually the person
It's so interesting.
Usually the person that wants it the most has the least objections to buying. But then they say, well, Greg, let me talk to my wife about this. But the real person that usually has the objections is also the person you're talking about.
That's why we said we need both parties there.
100%.
Because we want to get your input. Oh, don't worry, he doesn't want it. Yeah, I'll help you convince him to get it. I got one more thing with the coffee books. I got a lot more, but let's just get on this one because I think it's
it's brilliant with the initial consult. You got the coffee table, like or the book. This is like the process of marketing. Like it's 101. They have to do this.
So let me tell you, remember how I said, it's a franchise system without a franchise fee, and we're always adapting, and we're not doing the same 20 products and 20 steps that we did in 1994. We've tweaked and added and done new products. Here's something that I learned from one of my customers because I'm always learning when I'm visiting and windshield time, and we're going to vlog another pond. And there was a woman who doesn't build ponds. She's a grandmother of, I think, 6 or 7. She's older, a little older than me, but not much older. I could have grandkids, I don't. And she said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a pond business. I'm going to follow your protocol exactly. I'm going to do all the sales, and then I'm going to hire certified contractors to do the installation. I said, well, that's interesting. Like, I've never seen someone do that, but, knock yourself out. Well, here's what she found. So she would bid on the same projects in her area that the other certified contractors were bidding on, but she would get them the majority of the time. Even though when she got it, she would hire the same guy that was bid on it too for that same customer, right? Well, why did that customer hire the grandma that really doesn't know nearly as much about pond as the contractor does? Because she would mail out the coffee table book. But instead of just mailing out, so a lot of times they don't mail the coffee table book, the contractor doesn't even use it, right? He's not following the system. She would say, well, it's really easy. I talked to him on the phone and I said, so what are you looking for? We just want the sound of water. I don't really want the maintenance of a pond. Oh, that's a fountainscape. That's a pondless waterfall, whatever. What's your budget? Oh, our budget is, 10 to 20,000. Okay. So she listens 10, 15 minutes on the phone. then takes 10 or 15 minutes right after, well, it's still fresh in her mind, and takes Post-it notes and goes through the coffee table book and marks some pondless waterfalls or some projects in the $10,000 or $20,000, puts a little cover note on it, mails it to him FedEx, because sometimes it's 2 or 3 days later she's going to be there. So, hey, I got an appointment on Friday. It's Tuesday. I better mail this FedEx so it gets to the next day. So it costs her $30, $25 for the book, $30 to mail it. So $55 total. She gets there and the people are like, oh, we love that. You know what? We really love this waterfall, but I know it's $30,000. Our budget's only $20,000, but can we do this? So their budget's already $10,000 more than it was before, right? And then she just collects the deposit check and then hires a contractor. The other certified contractors, now here's what happened. This is very interesting. All of the guys that she used to subcontract in her area hate her.
Of course.
They won't work with her anymore.
Because they're stealing because she's stealing their business.
She doesn't know anything about ponds. She relies on us to do all the construction, and she's getting all the sales. Yeah, because she talked to the customer. She went through the book and put the Post-it notes on. She called them back within, the same day that they called, not 3 days later, like you did. So now she still does the same exact model, but she flies in contractors from all over.
That's awesome.
So she's in Florida, so a lot of the work she does is in the winter when the people are slow in Wisconsin or in cold areas, and so she just books all of her jobs, in the off season and does periodic ones in the in season with it. And she's got a very successful business. And instead, this is fascinating to me. Instead of the contractors who are losing the job in her area to her say, well, what am I not doing that she is? They get mad at her.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, why would you be mad? Blame yourself. What are you not doing to get better yourself? Work on yourself. Nope. It's her fault, not mine.
Sounds like where society is right now, Greg.
It's
easy to point the finger outside of one.
And there's always going to be those that stay small in that aspect. And what would be the third thing that you would ask yourself? Is it working on yourself? What is it? What's the third thing that you attribute to your success? Or what is a question that we need to ask in order for you to know?
Well,
or for people to know what you
so
would
I kind of,
yourself.
this whole segment kind of started with, I'm like, people don't ask me the questions that I would ask me.
Yeah.
And I just kind of find it interesting. It's like, if I was asking me questions, the kind of questions that I have with most of my customers are not the ones that I would be asking me, and we've covered some of this stuff, like how do you build a team and, don't try to find yourself, get out of the way, give people a rope.
Well, and also the people that are pointing their fingers, how can I become better instead of putting somebody else down, obviously.
I love some of these. Look at such great guys. I'm not even like ripping on their guys, but like one of the guys, I said, listen, you should go to work for her. Like you should be her foreman.
Model excellence.
And he's like, no, I want to be my own boss. And I go, yeah, but you don't have organizational skills. I'm driving in your van right now, vlogging, and your van is disgusting. Like you should have had this at the car detailer the day before I came. Like you're just not. You don't have the it factor. Well, exactly. I agree with here's what he said. He said, I agree with everything you say. I'm going to prove you wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I want to be right. I want to help you. My goal is to help you with your business. And instead, I agree with everything you say. I'm going to prove you wrong. Now he's out of business.
So let me ask you a question.
I told him, go work for her. No, I want to be my own boss. But you're not wired to be a boss.
So
that's okay. Ed's not wired to be a boss. Brian's not wired to be. Yes, they could do it, but do they want to do it? Do you want to do accounting, Brian? No, I want to design and sell bonds. Then let me help you do that. Let me put an accounting team around you. Let me put, Ed, you're a scientist. You're so brilliant. How do we build a team around you so that you can do what you are brilliant at? And if you're in the wrong seat on the bus, you're still in the wrong seat. Move to the right seat, and that's okay. I am not better than Ed or Brian, or even this guy that went out of business. I just know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I stick to what I'm good at. And I surround myself with people that are good at what they are. And I support them in being good at what they are. And then I see people literally destroy their lives because they're trying to be something that they're not for whatever reason. It's like, you got to figure out who you are and do that. Sorry for getting emotional, but
I love it.
I love it.
So how do we teach?
Well said.
So there's
Well
something
said.
missing here though. Like what's the teaching and education piece before they just like fucking fall off the cliff? Before they just jump off blindly into this abyss of the unknown? What do they not know that they need to know? Like,
well,
Greg, you have so much beautiful experience that like I hear the CACs need to stop thinking less like a contractor, start thinking more like a business owner.
Sure.
Start thinking more like a coach.
Or if you think like a contractor, that's okay. This is okay if you want to build ponds, but then you better have somebody working on the business, because if no one's working on it, we know where it's going to go.
And somebody that's good at sales.
Yes. Oh my God. So many of these guys.
Somebody driving the bus, because if they're not and they're just in the back working on it, it's like.
So many of these guys are limited because they're not good at sales
or marketing.
They're good builders or marketing or this or that, but then they don't build their team to be good at what, to support them. And so in life, you get further ahead by developing your strengths and fixing your weaknesses. And I'm a prime example of that, because I was never a math student, and I'm subsequently not going to go become an accountant and study accounting. But trust me when I say this, the accounting is very important in a business. So I have, a CFO and a controller and an accounting team that loves numbers.
Well, something that you said earlier with all the numbers of the marketing is, do you know your numbers? That's the question, is as a contractor, as a business owner, do you know your numbers? Because you knew your numbers, even though you started out with the mail order magazine. Right?
I know my numbers because here's what. First of all, we have a budget that gets done. But back in the day, I'm like, well, how can? I don't know. And I boiled it down to 3 numbers. Then I wrote a book on it.
Right.
Because I'm like, well, this is how I figured this out. And it was, you need 3 numbers to know if your business is successful or not: sales, overhead, and gross profit margin. And you could have less sales, but reduce your overhead, or increase your gross profit margin and still be successful. So it's those 3 numbers and how you dial them in or not: sales, overhead, and gross profit margins. Okay, so here's my sales goal, here's my overhead to get it, and here's my anticipated gross profit margin of selling my stuff. Oh, geez, my gross profit margin, instead of making 50% on these ponds, I'm making 40%. I either better increase sales or decrease my overhead, so that at the end of the year, my number's my number. So and you don't look at it on April 1st when you file your taxes. You look at it every single month. Where am I at ahead? What do I have to tweak? Hey, boss, can we buy a new truck? You tell me. How many more ponds can we sell if we're going to increase our overhead this much to pay for the payments for that truck? I don't want to be anybody's daddy. So I would say to my guys, you want a raise? No problem. If you want a raise, how much more money are you going to bring into the company so that I can pay it? Well, I don't know. Well, here's the sales, overhead, and gross profit margins of our numbers. You do the numbers and come back to me. How many people actually do it this much? How many people actually think I should be paid more? The answer is everybody wants more money, but how many people are actually going to do the work? I tell everybody, we're an open book. We'll tell you what our sales, overhead, and gross profit margin is if you work in the warehouse, the construction team, or the management team. And if we are going to have more money, then we need to either cut our overhead, increase our sales, or increase our gross profit margins. Simple as that.
How many people in the community, contractors, business owners, follow those 3 sets of important numbers in their business?
I would say the majority don't. I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say the majority rely on an outside accounting firm, and they normally know by tax season they probably shouldn't have bought that truck last year, right? But you don't buy the truck until that's putting the cart before the horse. So I don't even these things have happened so long ago for me, and it's such a system. Like, I don't put the budget together. I don't like that. In fact, 6 or 7 years ago, Colleen, the president, said, can you please come to the first 20 minutes of the budget meeting and don't bring your phone? And I'm like, I can do this. And I left my phone in my office and I went for 30. Okay, so she gives me my sandbox. This is what I have to play with, including you guys. You guys would be in my sandbox coaching, right? And if I want to hire you for my next session of coaching and I've already spent my money, then maybe I don't buy that new truck. Or maybe we don't take, like we just had Utah Ammonium. Our budget, we're 1% behind our budget this year for sales. And so we said, what can we cut costs on our overhead? Oh, instead of bringing the sales managers and their inside salespeople, we're just going to bring the sales managers. So all of the inside salespeople, unfortunately, because the sales guys and our team didn't hit the top end, we couldn't bring 2 sets of people. We only had to bring 1 set. But we didn't figure that out next April. We figured it out this September for the October event. Because the business gets run by the numbers.
Sure.
And just because it makes a lot of top line sales doesn't mean you make the bottom line sales if you don't let the numbers dictate what you do. Okay, so basically Colleen's job is to tell me no all the time with somebody. Okay, no problem. This is what you want to do. What are we going to cut, or how's it going to add? and there's obviously, I got a sandbox. I mean, there's obviously some things that we're doing on speculation, but when the speculation doesn't come in, how do the bills get paid? Because the company's run by a budget. Do I put the budget together? No, I don't like to do that. And I don't want to put the catalog together. And I don't want to do anything that involves, I don't want to edit a video. I don't edit videos. I edited one video since 2017. I'm like, I'm going to watch this process. Oh my gosh, this is taxing. Details and everything else.
Yes, it is.
But so then I talk to business owners and like, oh, I have, X number of gigabytes of video, projects that I have to edit this winter. Are you in the video editing business? What can you pay a guy in? You could pay a guy in the Philippines $8 an hour to do that. Is that what you want to work for? $8 an hour? Why don't this winter you take your family on a vacation? You read a couple of business books, you go to seminars, you do things that are actually going to expand your business than just, do a task that you can outsource to somebody overseas who will be very happy making $8 an hour because they live in a country that doesn't pay that much. And they'll do just as good of a job, even a better job than you will because they actually are good at video editing.
So looking back at your success, what would you say is your superpower, your character trait that has created the resilience and being able to pivot? I mean, looking back, you have such great wisdom. Why don't you share some gold nuggets of things that you've learned so far?
Oh boy. Well, one thing, and I will credit my high school football coach and my mom, probably the two with this, is I've got a confidence. So I just have confidence in stuff. And my mom was fantastic in that regard, helping me build up my self-esteem and everything else. And then, I was never a student. I couldn't sit still long enough, to concentrate in class. But my high school football coach believed in me. And I love that man. I was a wayward, 14-year-old kid when I went in there, and he ended up giving me a purpose. So I would say confidence is the first thing. I've never really had a fear of things. So, false expectations appearing real. So I just go for stuff. Don't always succeed. I wasn't the greatest athlete in the world, but I believed in myself. And I think it was because others like my coach and my mom believed in me. So I never even thought I couldn't do it. My very first seminar, I was 25 years old, which is pretty young now. Of course, when you're 25, you don't think you're young. You think you know everything, right? And I remember I'm like, I'm going to go down to, I'm a single. I'm going to go down to visit my friend in Dallas, and I'm going to do a seminar on how to build a pond. I'm going to charge $49 a pop, and I'm going to sell a pond kit to somebody in the room, and I'm going to use that money to pay for my plane tickets and spend time with my best friend from junior high that lived down there. And I remember I had zero fear because I was just talking about what I actually did. Like, if you had a question, like, well, this is how I do it. This is how I build a pond. Like, why would I be afraid of this? And I remember I was talking to guys who were twice my age that, well, you can't do that down here. And I go, you're correct. You can't because you don't believe you can. But I'm doing it. Well, that's easy because you're the pond guy. Yeah. How old are you, Rodney? It was Rodney Allison from Denton, Texas. I'll never forget it. And I was just like, this guy's weird. Like, why does he think this way? He had a cowboy hat. And he's like, that won't work down here. You can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, you are correct. You can't because that's what you believe. But why do you believe that? And he's like, well, every landscaper down here goes on free consultations. I go, yeah, but when you do that, you devalue yourself. I want to charge my time. And if they go ahead and go with our services, I'll apply it to the thing. And he goes, well, that's easy for you to say you're the pond guy. And I go, how old are you, Rodney? Now, at the time I was 25, he was 54. So basically over double my age. I'm 54. I go, how long have you been doing this? He goes, since I was in high school cutting lawns. And I go, you've been doing this longer than I've been alive. And you don't believe you have something valuable between your two ears, you're giving away, you're selling yourself short. And he goes, well, I'll be, spits in his platoon, But I've always been teaching people, this is how I did it. I've never had that fear. So I guess at the beginning would be the superpower confidence that others instilled in me, my mom, my football coach, and then I just go for things,
So how do you recover from failure? Because a lot of people, when maybe they're confident, but what happens over a period of time, they fail enough and then they start losing their... I'd love to unpack that because when people start failing, sometimes they lose their confidence. So how did you stay confident through the failure and the trial and error?
Well, here, let's go there. That's a good one. First of all, I was passionate about what I did.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I was like selling doorknobs. Like, I wonder how do people sell things they're not passionate about, So it was really fun for me. Like, I really believed in the purpose and the mission. So failure was not an option. Setbacks, defeats, stubbing toes, having your money stolen from you. Every single thing that's happened to anybody in business has happened to me in 34 years thrice, because every 10 years it just repeats itself. But I've never lost focus of the goal. You know, my goal is to help my customers succeed. My goal is to change people's lives, improve consumers' experience with water features. And so all of those, they would just empower me. Like, okay, what can I learn? What can we get better? Where did I screw up? I hired the wrong person, you know. Why didn't I listen to my wife? She's a better judge of people than me. It took me 10 years. How smart am I? It took me 10 years. My wife said one day, why don't you ever listen to people the first time I tell you about them? I go, what do you mean? She's like, oh, this guy that was after this guy that told you one thing. Oh my gosh, you are right. Okay, maybe if I'm going to do that, I should just run things by my wife, who's got that spidery sixth sense that I lack. I just believe people when they say something. So I didn't have the fear, and and how I overcame failures is I was a strong sense of mission and purpose. Like, I want to do this. This is my dream. It's like a kid that grows up wanting to play Major League Baseball and actually gets it. And of course, you're going to get cut. You're going to have slumps, but you're going to work harder to get better at it because your dream was always to be a Major League player. My dream, which became my dream, I didn't even realize it was, I took my hobby and turned it into my profession. I love ponds. I love turtles. I love fish and frogs, you know, huckleberry fin life as a kid. And so all of those setbacks to me were pale in comparison to the vision, the dream, and the thing of doing what I want to love, which is water features.
How did you consistently remind yourself of this mission, this goal? Because I think that's something that so many business owners struggle with. So many practitioners and coaches struggle with the same thing, is they hit the setback, but then like, how do you remind yourself of that? Like,
Sure.
You kept on getting back on focus and like not letting these distractions.
Boy, you guys are making me think.
Well, you have lots of wisdom. We want to pull it out of you.
Okay, gosh. Okay, so listen. The means to an end for me is water features. It's my hobby, but my real end is helping people. Whether that's a person who's stressed out and whacked out and wants to sit back and relax at the end of a hard day next to their pond, or someone that wants to wake up and just, you know, have the morning coffee and read the newspaper. Like, I see what it's creating for them in their life. So that's very fulfilling to be able to have a product that people really appreciate. It's a hobby, you know, so that's good. And then ultimately my goal is to help others achieve what I've been able to achieve, which is a business that you could be proud of that doesn't need you in it to operate. Like, I'm living next to you guys in Utah, and my business is in Chicago, Toronto, and England with people that run it, and I'm informed of what's going on, you know, but I'm looking at the future and where we want to go, and then they just build it. So how many people could say they turn their hobby into their business or their career, and then they have a company that runs without them and being plugged in? And so my real driving force now, and really kind of why I engaged your professional services, was I was failing at my job, which is to help people. And so I didn't know how to do that better, and you guys really helped me with that. And that's why I wanted to share this with, you know, obviously the people that are following you, but also the people that follow me, that, you know, it might not be that what they're struggling with is what I struggled with, but everybody struggles with something.
Yep.
And what's amazing is how many people do it without coaches. Like I would, even the best athletes in the world have coaches. And so you helped me immensely with that. And I would like to tell that part of the journey as well in the appropriate time in your podcast. But I had a higher purpose, and it was not to build ponds. It was to change people's lives with water features, and then help other people accomplish what I've accomplished, which is a business they could be proud of that can run without them.
When did that transition start for you?
Like this struggle.
Or
of
was
helping.
that baked into the mission? Because I know that, you know, part of your business, of course, is, you know, doing what you love, but you're also mentoring these other people to do the same thing and live by these things, which is love what you do, and of course, build your first pond.
Lifestyle.
The
Sure.
lifestyle. Tell us a little bit more about that. And
Well,
that sets up this conversation.
I've always said, okay, I'll get there, but maybe in a little different way. But
Okay.
you know, I always, when I started this business in 91 and then decided to sell franchises in 94, which pivoted to the 95 mail order business, I always said Aquascape is a franchise system without a franchise fee. Follow the plan, Stan, do what we do. So I would always use our own construction department, and we still build ponds. It's kind of our R&D department in Chicago. We would use that as the example for people to follow. And of course, work with Mother Nature, not against her, is our philosophy. So hopefully people will just bolt it on to this. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't make things complicated, because you can't build out a team that works without you if you do that. And so it was kind of baked into the mission plan was, the easiest way to be successful in life, this is a truism that I have found repeated, is to find somebody succeeding at doing what you want to do and model them, do what they did. And so I was putting us, our company, my team on a pedestal, putting a spotlight on it. And it's always changing. It's always adapting. It's not like, we do the same things that we did away in 1994. No, new products come along, new techniques come along, but we're always adapting. And then I just use social media now, which is why I do my YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, is to showcase examples of people that are modeling the aquascape business model, which is based on some of the value systems of working with Mother Nature, keeping it simple, and when you find something you love to do, you never have to work another day in your life. This is what I do. Like, this is my hobby. My therapy is to figure out how I can make people succeed and help people succeed through the process that we use.
Do you know that you have been doing NLP since the beginning of time? So
Neuro-linguistic programming.
So
okay.
the work that we do in the coaching space. One of the things that we say is find a model that's excellent, model it, and then train others to do the same. And that's what you've been doing.
Yeah. Yes. And how I can get better at it is, when people don't follow that, and this is the segue potentially into where you guys came into the picture, I would go absolutely, my brain couldn't wrap itself around this. I was like, why would you deviate from a proven methodology to say, oh, maybe this one will work better? Because it's theoretically possible it could, but 9 times out of 10 or 99 out of 100, people's sales will decrease when they deviate from the system. And so I was like, well, I don't want you to deviate. Come on along with us. We're having all this fun. We're doing all these things. And then you, very in your eloquent way, particularly you, Deb, everybody has their own journey. Like, oh my gosh. And so I've had to, but I've successfully kind of broken through that. It might have taken 4 months, maybe twice as long as if I wasn't so stubborn, but I am in a good place now with people that leave the tribe. We lovingly call ourselves this, tribe of certified aquascape contractors to, for whatever reason, to do their own journey. And now I'm actually kind of good with it. And the way you worked me through that and brought me to that, and the Navy SEALs and the ring and the bell and all the analogies, it's been really freeing for me. Now we still have other work to do with me, so you're not done with me yet. But right now, the original idea of engaging my next door neighbors that manifested themselves in me was to overcome my extreme hurt, frustration, displeasure when somebody chose a different path that I don't necessarily agree with. Now I can say, okay, high five them and thank them for their business and sleep well at night, which is not what I could do before.
How did you know that, or when did you know, should ask, when did you know that the struggle of helping others, that was part of it?
So I'm not sure I understand the question.
So you mentioned, you were failing at helping others.
Oh,
so when did this,
no. I wasn't even that. It was, I've been failing forever at helping others because people have their own journeys, but where it was poisoning me is the problem.
Gotcha.
And it had basically come to a head in the last few years. And then you came into my life and helped me work through that. So. And
what were some of the signs that it was affecting you?
Well, I won't say that I was going to give myself a heart attack because we don't want to focus on something negative. But I was definitely having, issues that I would say this is not healthy to feel this way, to feel this anger, this cortisone shot that I get, it's not healthy. So I got to be more chill, and reprocessing and reprogramming through your continual help allowed me to break free of that bondage of this vicious cycle, because no matter what you do, people are going to go on their own journey. And so I would just have this reason and that reason, and none of it ever made sense to me. And I'm not even saying it still does, but it does make sense that it's their journey and not mine. So God bless you.
Right. And I think this is something that a lot of business owners can take to heart, because I know Brandon used to share the story of your flat fee model and real estate and how he would get so mad about people getting not understanding or getting it, or even in the early days of our container, because we modeled what we do and we give a blueprint, and we actually let people white label our stuff, and they can go out and create a business right away. But then they, would go and do a different process or whatever, and they wouldn't create success, or sometimes they would in their own way, but whatever. I used to take it personal, right? And it's something that all of us can understand, is that everybody has their own path in their journey. and letting go because
Now I can
focusing
understand
on
it.
that.
Now I can understand it.
Yeah.
I couldn't 6 months ago.
And what do you think was the big shift for you? Like,
Well-
how did that perspective change for you?
Well, of course, it was through a lot of work
Yes.
with you guys. But
Nudging you.
the analogy that you said to me, which is there's a reason there's a bell. So I always looked at our certified aquascape kind of network as kind of my special forces, my Navy SEALs. Like these are the guys that are focused on water features. They're passionate about it. They get, I mean, we'll sell it to a landscaper, but if he builds 1 pond a year, no big deal, like whatever. So these guys almost all of them are exclusive water feature businesses. Some of them might do some patios or something else like that, but they're pretty much water feature business. And they're my Navy SEALs. They're the special forces. And people would, for whatever reason on their journey, leave that group and go back to being in Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines, like you put it. Well, I respect our military, and we need the Army and the Air Force and the Navy and the Marines. And of course, most of the customers when they leave, or most of my certified aquascape contractors, when they choose a different path and choose not to be certified, following our methodologies, following a different one for whatever reason on their own journey, they still buy our products. And the majority of my sales actually are to, people that aren't the elite of the elite, the special forces, the Navy SEALs. And so I do appreciate their business, and I do appreciate our military because we need it all. Not everybody can be, for whatever reason, whether it's psychological, mental, physical, or they just don't want to be a special forces like a Navy SEAL. No problem. Thank you for your service in the Army, for instance. And so that analogy that you gave me, I kind of finally got my arms around because it was a good indicator, because just because someone isn't buying 100% exclusive your products or doing it 100% exactly how you would do it, they still buy a lot of your products, and they're still, to whatever level they want to be successful in their own way.
Right. So what does that allow you to be now in your relationship with your business, with the clients that you serve, the customers that you have?
Well, I mean, one thing is it allows me to be more appreciative of the majority of our business, which isn't the people that are focused fully on water features and focused fully on doing it the same methodology in the aquascape way. And so that's kind of good because I do appreciate those people. So now I can actually show them more genuinely my appreciation for them, because I really do feel the appreciation for them.
What does it allow you now to do in terms of behavior differently?
Oh, excellent. Well, instead of wasting time trying to get people to, come back to the mothership.
How many hours were you spending on this a day?
Oh, I would have to try to make sense of things. I would have to, like, why would you do this? Why would you do a different path? Now I'm like, it's like, okay, that's their different path. We still would like you back, but if you choose to stay on your different path for whatever reason you have, more power to you.
And so what are you choosing to focus on and spend your time and energy on
I'm
now?
choosing to spend my time on new customers and people that are entering the tribe, and people that are saying, maybe I would be interested in this, versus people that have told me that I'm not interested in this, So I'm focusing on the up and comers versus, for whatever reason, the people that are choosing a different path.
And ultimately, what does it allow you to have now as the business owner, the mentor, the coach? Because in your talk, whenever you were presenting in front of your people, you asked them to help them through coaching them to success.
Okay, it's a little different pivot, but yeah, it's on the same parallel. So one of the challenges that we have is we have a, sales team throughout the U.S. and Canada and England, and they spend a lot of time of themselves chasing down the people to fill out their forms and to submit what's happening with the prospects that they got off of our website. And then they feel like they're having to be a parent in getting people to do their homework. And then the customers, my best customers, feel like they're being policed, like if they're not filling stuff out. And I'm like, this is not going to continue to happen. Like, if you choose not to submit what leads you followed up on that Aquascape gave you through our website, this is your decision. We're just going to pull you off of the locator until you find the time to do that, or not. And maybe you don't want to be it because you don't, for whatever reason, want to follow up with the leads. But I want to empower my teammates. And I was trying to ask them for help. Like, I would love everybody to fill out what happened in the last month with all the leads you got off of our website. But if they don't, we're not going to, we'll call you once, send you an email, and then you'll just be off the locator. And so it's I'm changing the culture of our sales team, who feels that we're being too parenty to grown adults that for whatever reason weren't getting all the stuff in. So
Ultimately, it sounds like you've let go of some control.
oh, not only have I let go of the control, I've empowered my sales guys who felt that they were, because they were saying, have you followed up with so-and-so that hasn't submitted their report? Now we're like, when we ask once, and if you don't do it, no problem. You can be on the next month if you choose to do your homework. But if you don't do your homework, consequences are on you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. What else has shifted since this kind of pulling back your energy, releasing this frustration around people leaving the CACs?
And control. Ultimately.
And control. What else have you noticed and how has that clicked into place? Like what's shifted for that?
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, this is just a breakthrough we've had within the last month, so I haven't really fully lived this life yet because I've been living this life for years of getting triggered and, giving myself health potential issues from getting frustrated. So we're in the first month of me coming to the epiphany that you guys broke through. Like I said, we've been working together for 4 or 5 months, and I probably should have got this after a month or two, but I'm stubborn or whatever else. So now I've got it. So now ask me that question 6 months from now, but I will tell you it's a peace that I have over me when I don't have to understand why somebody does something. I will just accept it for their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like CACs and your team have noticed the shift in you?
I think to some extent, certainly my team, because they're the ones that primarily interact with the certified outsourced contractors. And I've basically empowered them to, hey, you don't have to be a parent, So before that, they would maybe feel pressure that the organization said, your job is to follow up, even if you have to call this guy 3 times to get one answer. Now you call him once, and if he chooses to answer, or they don't have to call because people actually do their job. They actually fill out the form and everything's kosher, So I'm on the early path of this epiphany. So check back with me in a couple months, Coach.
Okay.
So looking back at all the time that you spent in the past living in that old way, what is the biggest lesson that you could take away for other people? Because really when it comes to growing and scaling your company, at some point you have to let go of control and empower others to take leadership roles. And you've done a great job, but this was just the next level of that. So what would be the biggest lesson you could share with people that are sitting in your seats right now?
Well, listen, first of all, we have the most successful program in the world. The Certified Aquascape Contractor Network is the most successful. 95 of the top 100 pond builders in the world are certified contractors. I take a lot of pride in that. And that's because of my energy. Mm-hmm. But it cuts both ways. There's 2 sides of a coin and all the other colloquialisms that you guys say, you say to me. And so for me, I have pushed it too far to one way. And it's freeing to say, we don't need to go that far. And so the epiphany that I have now is that everybody has their own journey for whatever reasons that they purposely have. And that's cool. Like, good luck to you. High five. And I do appreciate your business, whatever you choose to buy from us going forward in the future. So yeah, I'm excited to apply for this next year, the epiphany that I've had and have it not just be my sales team that sees this, but ultimately my tribe, and ultimately people who've chosen to leave the tribe but are still customers. Hey, Greg actually does support us, does want us to succeed, because I do. Of course I do. I don't want their failure doesn't help me at all. Maybe their success would help me more if, so I would certainly want them to succeed.
So what are some of the belief systems that you had building this business to the success that you did? Mm-hmm. That maybe these other certified aquascape contractors need to adopt? Because I kind of want you to go back in time.
Yeah. Got it.
How you built this.
Yeah.
So that you can give more learnings and wisdom and resources around the things that I think some of the contractors are falling short in with.
How you do anything is how you do everything. So what are you going to stand for? And we have definitive value systems, in terms of, not giving a customer what they ask for. Your job as a professional is to give them what they want. And as a professional, if somebody asks you to do something that you would normally not do, you need to articulate, hey, here's why we don't do it that way. And if you want someone to do it that way, that's cool, but it would need to be someone else besides us, to do it. And of course, this is not what you're taught in school, or most people think is like the customer's always right. Well, maybe the customer's right for them, but you're not right. You're not right for that customer, right? So we have we stick to our, this is how we do it. We don't deviate from our system. And then we can put processes, procedures, and systems in place so that the company it's the company's processes and procedures and systems that are running the business. And then whoever is the person executing on that is the person that we have currently working for us at that time. And by doing that, I'm able to free myself from the day-to-day because we have our systems. We will not build a 5-foot-high waterfalls in a flat backyard, which is a volcano spewing lava, even though the majority of people, when you go to their house, say, I want a high waterfall in this flat backyard. We can do that, but we're going to have to bring in 6 semis of soil to do proper slope over angle. Oh, I don't want that. Right. How about this one? Yeah, something like that. That's 2 feet tall. So it's not about saying no to a customer. It's about educating a customer. When a customer's asking you to do something that they haven't done themselves before, what they're really asking you for is your advice as a professional. And so that's one of the principles.
What makes that struggle happen for other contractors in the community?
Oh, because they think the customer's right. I have to do what the customer asks me to do.
They're brainwashed with that idea.
And I say the first rule in business is not to give the customer what they asked for necessarily. If someone said, I want a 2-foot-high waterfall in a flat backyard, high five, but the majority of people don't know.
So what I hear when you say that, I hear 2 things that I think needs to be unpacked. The first one is communication.
Yep.
Is really communicating that from this neutral, balanced.
It is neutral, yeah.
Not having a charge to say no, and also boundaries.
Correct.
Because I think one thing that I see with coaches, business owners, entrepreneurs that we work with is they struggle with boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, people have relationship issues. They're not relationship issues. They're boundary issues and how they communicate those boundaries. So go deeper on that.
Well,
and go back in time when you were building this thing. How did you know that those were the boundaries and you needed to set?
Well, I think part of it's my self-worth. So I felt that I was good. I'm passionate, even back, and I was not good. You look back at the original water features, any builder would, that they built 5 years ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so proud of that. You get better over time, and everything else. But I believed that I was good out of the gate and I was in demand. And of course, it was so easy for me. When people wanted to see one of my water features as a 22-year-old kid, who's going to give a 22-year-old kid 20, 30 grand, to do this? People that have read about you in the newspaper. And when they ask, well, can I see one of your ponds? Hey, come on over to my house. This is the pond I've had since I was a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of birds get attracted to these? Well, at my pond, I get cardinals and blue jays and robins at my pond. I would just talk about what I did. And well, there's my pond. I could do that for you. Would you like that? So I wasn't a pretender.
That's what I love about you too. And it's built into your belief system as, an aquascape professional, is that walk the walk. You have 100% integrity because you build your own pond.
Which is the lifestyle.
It's like a therapist that doesn't do their own work, or a coach that doesn't do their own work,
or a
health
contractor that still needs to build that pond.
Doesn't do their labs, right?
Sure.
And we see this a lot across the board in all industries.
So it's hard for me to relate because this is just what I've done.
Right.
I didn't have to pretend because I had a pond.
Right.
And if someone wants to see it, come on over. You want a Coke? Let's sit and talk. And if someone comes to your house when you've got a pond, you've sold a pond. Because now they're sitting there for an hour or two and feeding the fish and relaxing. And that's fun for me because I want them. It's my hobby.
So from your perspective, growing this as successfully as you have, is that something your community struggles with? Walking this walk?
Well, this is a very interesting question. Part of I'm going to go zen, on you. It's
something for us to work on.
It is. We have
do some live coaching.
We have to work on this.
We'll do some demos.
I'm not there. I'm not arrived yet. So we give a roadmap. It's here's the 10-step process to get your business going. And I would say
it's the model.
It's the model. And I would say 50% of the people don't do step 1. How do you get to step 2 without doing step 1?
Step 1 is live the lifestyle.
Step 1 is live the lifestyle. Have a water feature for, I live in an apartment. Well, do you have a mom, a dad, a football coach, your best friend? And put the water feature in there. And then, of course, if someone wants to see one of your jobs, you bring them over to your best friend's house or your parents' house or whatever else. And when you miss that step, I don't have enough money to build my own pond, so I just have to sell it. Then it's harder to do step 2 and step 3 and then you get off on the wrong foot. And so go back.
That seems okay. So being in a past life of real estate, that seems so easy to go find someone that I'm extremely close to, like you just said.
Yep.
Go find a vendor partner, somebody who's in the middle of town where there's lots of traffic or it's easy to get to, and be like, hey, go 50-50 in on this pond with me. And that way I'm going to increase the value of your piece of real estate.
And see, that's just
That's common sense to me.
So if you need to be certified, you need to take an online course. You need to be obviously licensed in whatever state you are. So sometimes that's hard for people to do. Fill out the paperwork and submit it in. Then you need to take an online course, and then you need to build 3 projects with project photos and submit testimonials from the customers. Do you not know 3 people that can go 50-50 with you that you have a relationship with, that you can install the products and they could show the pictures and they can write a testimonial? Like that's the low hanging fruit. Hey, I'll meet you halfway.
Sure.
If you pay for the materials, I'll donate the labor and then use this as one of my things, because then as soon as you get certified, you're on the lead locator list and then you're off and running. And sometimes people come to an event, they get all fired up, and a year later, they're still not certified, when if you were really an eager beager, you could be certified in a month or 2.
Right.
And that's your deal cutting pond. Like, that's your promotional piece.
Yes.
You literally make that instead of going to can't tell you how many appointments I did at like Starbucks or some coffee shop, right? Before we go look at real estate, you go meet at the pond, you build rapport, you build value, and you say, this is what we can do you. And you don't even go out to their property until you can get them to commit.
We always tell contractors, we always tell consumers, I tell consumers, if you're going to hire a contractor, see how they themselves are living the lifestyle. So there's pictures are one thing, portfolios are another, but actually, what are you doing? Well, I don't have a pond. Huh? You really want to hire a guy that doesn't have his own pond? Right. I kind of think that says a lot.
It's like a car salesman that doesn't own a car. He just takes the bus.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what you did when you became a real estate agent when we were like 17.
Well, and I can see this.
So funny. He did the same thing.
Yeah. One of my biggest limiting beliefs was, who's going to believe an 18-year-old kid who just got their real estate license who doesn't own a house yet?
Well, it was a good limiting belief.
It was a good limiting belief.
And encourage you to get a house.
Yeah.
Because my goal was to get a house at 20 years old, and I ended up getting it between 19 and 20. And, that was one of the big things, though, like that drove me to keep making the calls and connect with clients and make the relationships and keep making sales. If they didn't want to sell me their house, I would just list it for sale. But I was always thinking in the back of my mind, I could buy one. And sure enough, found somebody to sell me their house for, no money down and a creative deal. So I feel like do a lot of certified aquascape contractors and other landscapers and contractors doing this work, do they have a limitation or a limiting belief around just living that lifestyle? It's like they're trying to sell something that they don't live.
I think this is your world. Remember, I'm not the psychology guy here with this stuff. I'm like, maybe I think it probably boils down to money and time investment. Oh, I don't have the time to do this because let's just face it, many people are doing this as a side hustle. This is the way they start off. They're not 20 years old and living in their parents' house like I was, and so they have, and then also like, where am I going to get the money to put one in for myself? It's like, yeah, you go collect tin cans. I don't know, how can you do this? Can you get it's not that expensive. I mean, you're talking a couple grand to start, if you do the work, you could, $2,000 pond kit, another $2,000 in stone, and you can get a little 8x11, 11x16 foot pond, which is actually a good size. It's perfect. That's nice. That's like the best model. And for whatever reason, they let limiting factors or limiting beliefs that I've never had. So it's hard for me to relate. It's like, I just did this because, and so this is a challenge for me because I want to help people. So it hurts when I see somebody that I invest in and he invests in himself to come to an Aquascape Academy or to do our online Aquascape University or to come to Pandemonium. And then a year later, they still aren't certified or they still haven't done it. Not that you have to be certified, but they're not taking the roadmap and following it.
Well, it's much easier.
It's a blueprint for success. Something
you
said earlier, the first thing you said was confidence. When you're 18, 19, 21 years old,
yeah,
confidence comes from doing and experience. The more you do it, the more confident you get. Is
Yep.
that a challenge? Is that one of the blocks that some of these business owners have and that's blocking them from creating?
Well, I think it even starts behind that. Before that, it's like, well, no one will spend that much money in my area.
So it's a limitation around
It's
the
like,
investment.
yeah, they won't. You're all right.
Universe.
No one will pay you, Rodney Allison, $50. This was 1995 to go to your house to do a design consultation. First of all, they don't call it a design consultation. They start to misnomer it. Yeah, I'll come out. I'll come out on a consultation. No, it's a design consultation. Well, I'm not doing a drawing. Yeah, but you're designing I don't do drawings either. I use I use garden hoses and spray paint. Because I can't draw, and it's like, well, let's lay it out. And I make the customer make physical contact. What do you think of this design? Oh, maybe that curve. Touch it. Let the customer touch it. And then when they're involved in the process, you can't do that with a drawing. They can't erase things and draw it. And then I spray paint it out. And I said, go look at it from inside the house. See if you can see it from your bedroom window. See it from your kitchen window. Oh, can we make it a little bit? Sure, but if we make it this much bigger, it's going to be more money. Is that okay? Ask permission to make it bigger. It's simple. It's not complicated. Oh, I got to get CAD programs. I can't even turn a computer on. I am a contractor.
You don't even have a computer.
I don't own a computer.
From the phone.
I don't need a computer. I've got an iPhone and an iPad.
One of the things I love about you is that you're a creative problem solver that I think a lot of people get in their own way because they just don't think that way. Because you have somebody that presents you an obstacle or limitation, and you think like 5 ways around it. Is this the way your brain
Well, this
works?
is interesting, and we'll maybe go a little bit self-revealing here for this. But one of the things that we talked about, and you guys are good at extrapolating, which is why it's body blows and exhausting when I work with you guys, because you're like, you're so intense on it.
You love it.
I do. Well, I like the results of it. I'll put it that way.
Yes,
but my dad, who I didn't speak with for 9 years after he came into the business, after that Tribune article, and he started selling ponds instead of me selling ponds, because I was out in the field building, he would sell them at a different price than I did. I'm like, hey, Dad, why don't you sell it for more? Oh, well, this and this. And he was just different. He's an engineer. Different is different, not better or worse, but it also has to be in alignment. And we weren't necessarily aligned because he was all about the technical and I was all about the philosophical lifestyle. He was all about what the widgets were. Now, the widgets are part of the lifestyle, but it's, I think it was the cart before the horse. The cart behind the horse is people get it to live the lifestyle. And so my dad said the nicest thing, and my dad and I, by the way, 9 years didn't talk, missed my wedding, missed the birth of my 2 children. But that was that 9 years. And now since 2006, when his business didn't make it, focused on the widget, and we brought him back into my company now, we're great. We're great. But he said to me, and I always held on to this, and he said, I knew since you were a little kid that I could drop you off in another country naked and you'd get yourself clothed and make friends along the way and get yourself home. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
That is a really nice.
That was a nice thing, And I don't know. This is.
What do you attribute all that?
So one of the things really.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
No.
So one of the things I think is really important to highlight on the conversation about the difference between how your dad was selling and the way that you sell is something that we see a lot of people in our industry that are in the coaching or the practitioner space. They're selling the widgets, the gadgets, all that stuff versus what that's going to feel like to have a pond in your backyard, to be able to sit, have these memories with your family, to be able to unpack and decompress after work, and really selling the experience of it versus the pumps and all that stuff. And this is where people get hung up and actually blow the sale that you've done naturally, intuitively.
So it's easier for me to sell to a people person than an engineer. And yes, of course, we could explain to you if you need to know the electrical cost of the pump, which, by the way, is a very good question. 90% of people don't ask. Right. What is the electrical running cost of this? We can tell you that. So if it's a detail-oriented person, if it's an engineering type of person, it might be not necessarily my comfort zone, but I can be a chameleon and adapt to that because it's a fair question. These are fair questions. Sure. What I really wanted to, I love it when the guy's like, whoa, man, how big of a party can I have? Can I get a party pump on this? Make it loud enough. That's an easier sale for me.
You.
Yeah, sure. but when I have somebody who's very technical, like my dad, or very, engineering, it's like, okay, well, we can break this out. Why do we actually say that this filter will filter 4,000 gallons of water? What's involved with that? I do have that ability, but it would be a stretch for me because it's not my natural selling style, but I have to adapt myself to whoever I'm selling to. And so understanding a little bit about what makes people tick, different is different, not better or worse. I can adapt to be a chameleon versus just one way all the time.
When you say that, I think of, you don't attract the clients you want. You attract the clients you are. Be a better client.
Sure.
When it comes to, the contractor that may have a limitation around selling a $100,000 water feature and an aquascape versus the one who's selling or bidding a $1.5 million aquascape.
Well, one of the things that we've always said, that's just one of the little teaching points, is never associate your value of $1 with a potential client's.
Right.
So what's $1 to you? Like I would never do. Yeah, you're not selling to you.
Exactly.
Like $1 to you is a nickel to them or whatever. Because your income level is here, their income level is here. And of course, you know how to do this, but they don't. You can't judge a book by its cover. I mean, we'll pull up into houses like, oh, what a waste of our time. This is house is unkempt and it's in a, poor neighborhood. It's like, oh, well, like I inherited money from my grandma and I've always kept fish tanks and I hear water features the ultimate fish tank. It is. I've got a $50,000 budget. Okay, let's rock.
That's awesome.
Right. I had an agent that worked for me years ago. And he went and showed like $1.5 million house to this client. It was huge, beautiful house. He's like, I would never. He came back from the office. He said, I would never buy a house this big. I was like, why not? He was like, it's so big. It's too expensive. I was like, just let's be clear. You're selling the house to them, not yourself. So let's not block that sale because your own belief systems. And I think this is really true in the business of if you want to grow your business, don't limit yourself to what others desire.
Sure.
I mean, that's a big piece of the belief systems that we're talking
and
about.
And it is a big problem for contractors.
It is.
Because usually they're selling to somebody above their economic, plateau that they've hit. And if they bring in their self-limiting beliefs.
Around money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We see that also in the coaching space is that people will project their own money blocks on what other people can afford.
Because of self-worth.
When we know that people, if they value something, they can get resourceful for whatever they want.
And people don't look at money as energy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's the frequency of people you're around? Well, if you want to be a better person, hang out with better people, right? Hang out with people that are going to lift you up and challenge your thinking.
And that's another thing. Like, I always want to find whoever is like the big dog in the room or succeeding at something and then pick their brain.
Right.
Like, I just want to get better. Like, I don't want to talk to people that are at my level. I want to talk to people who are at an above level and find out what they think and how they think because I want to adapt some of those belief systems as long as they're the same value system.
Sure. Right.
We were having that discussion yesterday about a customer of mine that's $1 billion a customer, but I don't necessarily align with their people philosophies.
Yeah.
So it's
values.
Their values. So it's like, okay, well, I will learn from this guy on this perspective, but not necessarily this perspective.
Right.
So if a certified aquascape contractor or anybody in the community is struggling with the first step of be the lifestyle, own upon lifestyle, pretty much every certified aquascape contractor is living the lifestyle. So they get
it's
that.
people that aren't getting certified yet. And I'm like, what happened for the last year? Well, I couldn't afford the pond, and then I didn't. Okay, well,
so they're in that
go back to step one
of trying to get certified.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And of course, remember, I got 60,000 customers and 600 of them are certified. So this is the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. That's the 60,000 and the 600 are the Navy SEALs, the specialists that almost exclusively only do water. They're not landscapers in water in general. I'm stereotyping here. And they're focused on it. So those guys are following the system. And of course, of those guys, the people that follow it the closest are the most successful.
Because they have a blueprint.
Which part of that blueprint is never go to somebody's house unless they pay you to come first. You couldn't just call up an interior designer and say, I want you to redesign my house and can you make an appointment? We have a consultation fee and we might go to a deposit to hire our services, but you're not going to get a plumber to come out to your house for free or an electrician or an interior designer. Why would the pond guy come out for free? Oh, well, because everybody else does. Yeah, well, let me be the next guy. No, I'm going to charge it. I'm going to let them know my self-worth ahead of time. And if you go with our services, it'll just get applied to that. And if you don't, now I don't have to charge all my customers who do, all the tire kickers who do I go to for all the customers who buy my services. Because you got to mark up your prices to offset all of the consultations that you go on that you don't get.
Is that a challenge for contractors in the community to charge this upfront fee?
I would say if I were to go off of my gut, I would say 9 out of 10 landscapers would come on a free estimate. Really? They write it on the side of their trucks, free estimates.
Wow.
We will give a free estimate over the phone. Mm-hmm. Well, we live in Texas and we have a 2-acre lake and we want to make it so that it's got better. Okay, well, that's a giant wetland filter. That's a waterfalls. You're looking at a minimum starting of around $100,000 to get that water clean. Oh, my budget's 10. Good luck to you.
Boundary.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm hearing you say is the struggle of how to communicate, holding up the boundary in a professional, diplomatic, kind way.
And knowing your value and your worth.
When we talk to people on the phone, the way we present, and remember, I'm not talking on the phone. The manager's not talking on the phone. It's a receptionist. It's a office manager that is cleaning out the leads. We've explained to them and articulated to them, this is the value system. We don't go to someone's place for free. And customers, when you say that and present it like that, the vast majority, 9 out of 10, on the flip side, will say, okay, we'll pay the consultation fee, which our consultation fee in 1995 in Texas was $50. Now it's $500.
Times change.
Yeah.
It's a thing called inflation.
Yeah. And it's a thing called we value our time more.
Sure.
And it's supply and demand.
And you get back the savings because otherwise you would have to raise
And
the
we're a year out all the time. So if that is not fit your budget or not fit what you want to do, well, the last 6 guys came out for free. Well, let me be the 7th. Not,
Right. Exactly. I immediately think, because real estate agents struggle with the same thing, and I immediately think of doctors and attorneys, professional services.
Sure.
A CPA. Your CPA is not going to run out to your office to do books. They're going to do the consultation at their place, most likely.
Yeah.
And so I look at you as the exact same. As you have the value, you bring the value of, almost 30 years experience? 35?
34. I'm coming up on my 35th year in business. Yeah.
Of getting that consultation fee of $500 for an hour up front. And I see.
My lawyer doesn't charge that much. Well, then have your lawyer build the pond.
Get a better lawyer.
Yeah, really.
There's a lot of attorneys that charge $500 to $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, we've had this comment in a fun way. We'll say, well, can your lawyer build your pond? I don't know.
What do you think from everything that you've experienced so far? What is the biggest word of wisdom that you could give anybody in business?
Boy. Well, I mean, so many. But first of all, looking back at over 3 decades of business.
I mean, that's impressive. It is.
Yes. Especially when I was only 20, when I came up with this concept. But, well, first of all, from my superpower, since we're talking about that, I have as much energy at 55 as I did at 20 starting this thing, because I just see so much potential and so much, I get fuel from the success stories of people that are starting this business, and everything else. So I think that very few people can do something for 3 decades and have the same level of energy as when they started. And I think a lot of times when the body blows happen and your best friend from your football team empties your safety deposit box and steals all your money and buys himself a Porsche, people could get pretty poisonous and angry about that. And I was quite angry about it. But I look back now and I'm like, what a bullet I dodged, losing my general manager at the age of 1990s, 27. We were both 27 when this happened, instead of 47 when he stole millions from me, or whatever. His true character was revealed. So the big thing that I would like to say is you learn way more from life's valleys than mountaintops.
Sure.
I did not know that when I'm in the valley. I'm not saying I'm looking forward to tomorrow's valley, but I'm like, well, I'll learn more from that. So it's really not a failure, because you can apply what you've learned from that for your next great success. Because it's going to be like this. This is the life of a business owner, an entrepreneur. And, there's things that are going on that you have no control over. Like 2008, I thought the worst thing that ever happened to me and the best thing that ever happened to me was 2008, because my business got cut in half in a few short periods after that. And I thought before that, I had the Midas touch. Everything, 4-time Inc. 500 fastest growing privately held company, 190 people working for me, everything I touched under gold. Well, I got a little too big for my britches. And then all of a sudden the rug got pulled out from under me and I got to go, oh crap. And I had to learn a whole new skill set and bring in whole different people, because I'd only had a business that for the first 16 years, I had double-digit growth. Year 17, 2007 was flat to year 2006. And then in 2018 or 2008, I lost $12 million.
What was the skill set? What was the new skill set that you had?
I only had a business that managed on the up. I never had to do cuts. I went from 195 teammates to 105. I cut 90 teammates. I'm gonna cut 50% of my workforce.
Wow.
And I was in every single one of those terminations, except for 2 that they thought that it could go bad, and they told me don't go in here for X, Y, and Z reason. It'll be worse. It was 3 rounds of layoffs. And the first round of layoffs, every single person proverbially flipped me the bird walking out the door. The second round of layoffs, which was awful because, we thought we had gone through, but sales didn't just pop up. The second round of layoffs, it was 50-50. 50% of the people would shake my hand. 50% of the people would say, screw you on their way out the door. So I had fat, I had some muscle and fat. And then the last round of layoffs, 100% of the people that we went to didn't just shake my hand. They gave me a hug and said, thanks for keeping me on. We understand. That's the bone. Killed me. 1 million deaths over. Crying at night. So upset about failing these people. But I had to protect the ones that were still there. And
what did you gain from that?
Well, I could tell you what I gained was just conviction. Like, I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up on this. I'm going to turn this thing around. And we did. We doubled sales.
And do you hire those people back?
Oh, yeah, some of them. Not a lot, but I mean, certainly the last round, everybody was offered a job when things came back.
Sure.
And but the people that stayed, man, those guys were I didn't do this. That's another thing too. Like those guys, that team did it. You met Brian Helfrich, my second longest teammate next to Ed, the pond professor. Those are my two boys, right?
Yep.
And I remember, because all life is fixing things. Our building collapsed in 2011. So my dream, Aqualand, a workplace utopia, 250,000 square foot, state of the art. I called it a workplace utopia because I wanted people to be able to stay there after work. And I had indoor soccer arena and basketball courts and weight room and hot tub and spa and steam room and, cold plunge, back in the day, biohacking. The building collapsed in 24 inches of snowfall. I was like, what the heck? It was a green roof and there was a design flaw. And thank God it happened on a Sunday when nobody was there. It was 10 minutes after someone left and 15 minutes before someone came, stopping in. And I remember I had a keynote speech for 500 people in South Carolina. I think that was a Sunday. It was February 11th, 2011. And the next Wednesday or Thursday I had to be in South Carolina. I didn't want to leave my team that was now in a temporary, location because our building was condemned. And I remember Brian Helfert saying, you go do you, we got this. And that was a perfect analogy because my team rebuilt that business. They rebuilt the location. I operated all of 2011 in 3 different cities, warehouse in one, customer service in another, retail store in another. But it was the team that rebuilt it. And then I did my thing, which was to go promote, to go, gain new followers, to do the things that I'm good at, the 2% of the things that I'm good at. As long as I stay in that lane, I'm good. But you want to tell me how proud I am of Brian? Like that guy took a bullet for me and I would take a bullet for him. Same thing with Ed. Most of my managers have been there for over 20 years.
Yeah, that's something that was so impressive.
Very.
I mean, most businesses have turnover of people every year.
High turnover,
right? And you have people that have been there for 30 years.
The hardest thing to do in business, which is saying something, the hardest thing to do in business is to build a team. The most important thing to do in business is to build a team so that you could step away. You can work on it instead of in it. So I've built the team. That team is the thing I'm most proud of, about my whole business is the 120 people. Never got to the 195. We changed our distribution model, set up 500 distributors to handle stuff. So we have less teammates than I did back in pre-2008.
That's also saying something too.
It's more efficient. The business model is more efficient, but building a team is the hardest thing to do in a business, and it's the most important thing to do if you want to build a business. If you want a job, if you're going to be, the guy that's doing something and it relies on you, but then what happens if you throw your back out or your best friend in the world, your wife gets sick?
What are the key skills in order to build a team the way you've built it, being able to maintain success, step away from the business, let these great players do what they're best at?
Yep.
Because I think that's one of the biggest things most business owners and entrepreneurs struggle at is they hire somebody and then there's micromanagement or they control them. Because I can totally relate that in my real estate days. Is like letting an A player do it their best. So
first of all, not everybody's an A player. Mm-hmm. So we give people a rope, and the A players will climb and pull you up higher with them. The B players would just be B players, and you kind of stay status quo. And the C players will drag you down with them, or D players, or however you want to articulate that. Most people, when you give them a rope and give them an opportunity, will hang themselves. But if you don't get poisoned by that, I can just do it better myself. How many times have we heard that?
Right.
Then you'll always be limited by your own abilities. Okay. They'll pull you up higher with them. And so for me, I think the biggest problem that I see most entrepreneurs, including myself, because I've learned the lesson the hard way, was they're looking in the mirror trying to find someone just like them.
Right.
Oh, I need to find someone just like me that can do it this way. The last person in the world that your company needs, like if my company had two of me, it would implode. Like I need the opposite of me. I need someone intelligent and refined and, which is where the president comes in. Colleen comes in, like I need
God
someone
for
to
Colleen.
Yeah. But most people look in the mirror and think they're the best looking person in the world. Well, yes, in that role, but what you really need is someone of two sides of the coin. Someone that could be the opposite of yours. And I learned this by bringing in my longest teammate of 32 years, which is Ed, the pond professor. Like he has a degree in limnology, the study of freshwater ecosystems. Like, yuck. I wouldn't, like I couldn't do that in science and math and all that stuff. But he geeks out about that. And then I gave him a rope. He didn't do as well as me because he had been building ponds since he was 12 years old when he first started. But here was my expectations. Here's where he delivered, and here was the customer's expectations. And over time, 32 years, he's all way better than me, and he pulls me up with him, right? Sure. And he does it with his style. Brian Helfrich, my 30-year-long teammate, the one that said, you go do you, we got this. Totally different than me, totally different than Ed, but he also has pulled us up because he has a different perspective, different skill set. He's more artistic, Ed's more engineering. Not that they both don't have engineering and artistry as part of their thing, and then I'm just sitting there in the background, just like, wow, look at these guys. Like those guys are just literally the number one and number two guy, 1A and 1B and 1B and 1A, the best in the world in their field, in the entire world at what they do. And it's because I got out of their way.
What did you attribute that to? What is that trait characteristic of getting out of your own way?
It's a good question.
Getting out of their way.
I'll answer that question. I always said from a very, I was out of the field in 5 years. Like 1991, my last year in the field was 1995. That's the year I launched my mail order business. And I think that year, 1995, I did $424,000 of installations of water features in Chicago and $191,000 of mail order catalog sales. But the next year I did 1.9 million in mail order. Like the writing was on the wall, and 500,000 in construction. So ever since then, the construction business has paled in comparison, but it's how we walk the walk, right? The question, Brandon, that I think is an incredible question that every business owner should ask themselves that I don't know how many do is this a job of a CEO? Is this a job of a CEO to be digging in the holes? No, that's the job of a laborer. Is this a job of a CEO to be, leading the project? No, that's a foreman. Is this a job of a CEO to be selling the jobs? That's a salesman, And so I always worked my way out of the jobs. Found somebody that could do it, maybe not to my high enough at my level, but at a standard that the customer valued. So
how quickly did you do that?
How did you know when it was time to do that too?
Yeah, exactly.
Because some people will, we've done this before, where we
Sure.
hired a team before we were ready, and then, it doesn't work either.
You get
So
too
how
much
do you
bloat.
know? How do you know when it's the right time as you're moving through?
How do you help
the
this?
phases
And
of
also
business?
think about how do you help this contractor in your community or any business
Yeah.
owner that's in this 300 to 500K range? They want to break $1 million.
And maybe they want to go to 2 or 3
or
or
they just
4.
want to streamline systems and processes so they don't have to be in the business every day.
Right.
More freedom, more time.
Well, I think they need to answer that question. Is this a job of a CEO? And listen, some people will say, yes, it is the job of a CEO to be digging the hole. No problemo, amigo. You are going to be always in the hole then.
Yeah.
That's your choice. And that's okay because that's their journey. But then you're a laborer. You have a job. That is not, you don't own a business. You own a job. Your job is to do something. I don't want to do anything in my business. By the way, not doing anything in a $60 million business, I have a lot of stuff on my plate because I'm always looking at the future. I'm over here right now recording the thing with you, but I got to go back and write the vision for Pandemonium 2026 that happens in August of 2026. And it's October of 2025. And they're like, we need this. We need to make the mark, oh my gosh. So it's okay, I will put that vision out there. And then the whole team will build the agenda, build the platform off that. But they're relating for me to share the vision. So I think most people get stuck in doing a job versus saying, is this the job of a CEO? And when they say that, no, that's a job of a laborer, a job of a foreman, a job of a salesman, a job of a graphic designer. The last job I had at my company was around circa 2000, so 10 years into my career, and I used to design the company catalog. And if you told me today, this is very interesting. If you told me today, go back and design the company catalog, as much as I love my business, I might quit. I'm like, no way can I do that. The catalog has expanded so much and there's so much detail and fingernails on a chalkboard to me. But I got a graphic artists that do that. I have a guy in, general manager of VP of development, 28 years or so, Jeff Payton, works for me. He does all the pricing. Do you know how hard the pricing is when every other week, tariffs are changing? But he thrives on that stuff. He's got a spreadsheet in front of him and opened up because he's in the right seat on the bus in his position.
Sure.
And if I tried to do that, I could do it way back when, a little bit, maybe. But man, I held my company back when I did that because I want to find someone that loves numbers, not someone that is dyslexic when it comes to numbers.
So for all the contractors and everybody that showed up at Utah Ammonium,
Yeah.
what's the highest paid skill they should focus on? What's the highest paid skill set? If they don't have it, they should be investing in that.
Well, I think it's going to be, here's what I'll say to that. It's working on developing your strengths instead of fixing your weaknesses. So somebody might say, I love numbers. I love setting budgets. I'm the owner of the company. Hey, that's great. That's what you're gifted at. Maybe you're not gifted at marketing, though. Usually left brain, right brain type of stuff. So then you better spend your money and your energy on getting the right marketing person, in there. So everyone's going to be different. But, society didn't teach us this. I have a huge issue with school and education because I was beaten down, fortunately at sports, that said, you need a math tutor. From the time I was in fourth grade, I had a math tutor. Every math tutor. Guess what? I got a calculator now. I can figure this out. I can do my sales and over gross profit margin. But nobody told me that.
Right.
They said, you're an idiot but man, creative writing, all day long. English, besides the spelling, I flourished in that. And of course, gym class.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
But society teaches people, fix your weaknesses. If you come home with your parents, my parents, anybody's parents, and you come home with 5 A's and 1 C, they're going to say, how do we get that C up? I'm going to say, I'm going to bring some of my organization that rounds out and makes that into an A for me. And my report card was, 5 C's, an A, gym class, and a D minus, get through math. But society tells these kids. And so when I talk to these kids, when I talk to people, I tell them things I've never heard. I'm like, well, this is how it works. I care. How do you treat people? You got a college degree? I have 120 people work for me. Oh, I didn't know you were out of college. That's cool. But how do you treat people at the water cooler? How do you build up your teammates? How do you take responsibility for things? All of the things that, of course, you learn playing sports, you learn outside the classroom, but I'm not leveraging what I learned in a classroom. Where did I learn more about how to run a business? My interpersonal communication classes in college, or from my high school football team and being a role player on a state championship football team. Not even a starter that year, my junior year, But man, I saw what leadership was about. I saw what setting goals were. I saw what discipline and hard work paid off. And I adapted those skill sets to start my business and grow my business. Not what I learned in, interpersonal communication in college. I was in a fraternity in college. And I remember my best friend in college, who's now a bomb builder, by the way, his dad wouldn't let him join the same fraternity as me, And he said, no, you got to focus on your grades. His dad was in charge of NASA's stratosphere program. He was a PhD scientist, pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
So he valued this. And he said, Mike, you will not join a fraternity. You will get good grades and you will work hard. And I joined a fraternity, and not because I wanted to join a fraternity, but because these were guys that I was playing flag football with. And they invited me to a party. And I'm like, this is cool. This is fun. These guys are cool. And then I became social chair, rush chair, hell master, philanthropy chair.
Hell master.
Oh, that was so fun. And where did I learn more from college? From the classes I took, or from having to organize parties with sororities?
Organizing parties.
Yeah, creating a philanthropy, making a putt-putt golf course to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club of Columbus, Ohio. Like, that's real world, not some theoretical class. But that's not what people teach. That's not what society does. They say, get that C up to an A in math. Well, I just hired an accountant.
That's awesome.
That is
Any parting
brilliant.
words? Because I know you got to run.
Yep.
That is brilliant, though, because most of society says fix your weaknesses when really you got to focus on your strengths.
Do you know where that comes from, by the way? Because I read this book.
No.
Marcus Buckingham, Now Develop Your Strengths, What the World's Greatest Leaders Do. And he was working for the Gallup organization, Gallup poll. And they said, interview Americans, Japanese, Russians, everything else. And in America, I'll remember the statistic ever, when that question was asked, do you get further in life by developing your strengths or fixing your weaknesses? 78% said you get further in life by fixing your weaknesses. Do you see why people aren't successful?
Because they're focused on the negative.
Yeah, which of course is exactly what our parents were taught. A, C, focus on the C to get to the A. Instead of, what is your A in? Let's develop that strength around there. So he left the Gallup organization based on that poll, started the Strength Finders, which is the name of his organization.
Finder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was all because he was so shocked that American society told people, and all societies, by the way, said fix weaknesses. Focus on
I've heard that story.
Focus on weaknesses instead of focusing on strengths. And I've always said, like, why would I focus on a weakness? I'll just get someone else that's better at that and make it at their strengths, and then I'll just let them pull me up with me.
So you are a marketing genius. And it's one of the things you've called us out on is not really having much of an online presence. So what was the one thing, because from my perspective, it's something that you never let the foot off the pedal, was marketing and like getting on social media and sharing,
Everything.
all the things.
Well, first of all, I enjoy marketing. I think it's fun to be able to share your story because facts tell stories. So just tell your story, whatever that story is. And one thing that I have also done a good job at is that I keep reinventing myself. So where I mailed out 3.2 million catalogs in the early 2000s, I mail out 10,000 now to only buyers. Like it's both. It's all online.
Right.
I resisted maybe 2010, 12 years ago getting on social media. I actually, because I didn't want to work in it, I wanted to work on it. So I had a person as my avatar. Like, no, I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't do that. So I just took it over. And then I'm like, okay, what is my process going to be around social media? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll do a daily post. Like every day I'm going to do a post. I'm going to force myself to do a post. And now I look forward to the post. I think about the post. Like, what can I do to post? And then, of course, because I now have however many platforms and everything else, I have an avatar that is my social media community manager that does the posts for me most of the time. But then I data bank the stuff.
You just give them content.
Yeah. So one day of me getting content equals 18 days of content. So I'll visit 8 stops in a day. So kind of my job right now, a huge portion of my job, and it's a twofer, is I get to spend time with my customers. So as Greg Wittstock, the pond guy, I get to travel the world. Listen to my job. It's like so awesome. I get goosebumps just talking about it. I get to go into different ports in the world. I get to visit my very best customers who take me to their very best customers, and everybody's so honored that I'm coming to visit, and I get to see my hobby, which is cool water features. So every time I walk in the backyard with a camera, I'm like, this is the first time I'm seeing this job. This is the first time I'm meeting this end consumer of my products. The contractor who built this is super proud. The end consumer is so honored that I'm coming to showcase their pond to the world. And then I just get to showcase it. Like, how fun is that? It's exhausting because I try to cram in as many, 8 stops in a day, 4 or 5 days in a row. But I'm already excited about, and I do that so I'll do 6 trips in a year, 6 1-week long trips, 4 or 5 days per trip. And that will get me enough content to race the whole year. On TikToks, YouTube, and then, this is kind of cool. I'm going to the Green Industry Expo show in Louisville Tuesday, so a couple days from now. And that was my second vlog ever. So I went and rewatched that vlog, and because I'm bringing my son with me and I wanted him to see it. Like, here's what we're doing. I'm like, I'll just find that vlog that I made. It's like, man, that was 2,100 vlogs ago.
Wow.
Like,
How many years ago was that?
That was 2017.
Wow.
That was
Wow, that's not that long ago.
in November of 2017.
How long did you resist this whole social media posting?
Well, I probably a year, like 2011, maybe 2012, is when I had the avatar. And I'm like, no, you're messing this up. Like, I'll just do it. So I've had my strategy in place, 1 post a day, since, a year into it, pretty early, but I built a pond for Logan Paul, in December of 2017. And I knew that he was the top vlogger, one of the top vloggers at the time. And I'm like, well, man, I'm 2017. I've been 47 years old. I'm like, I'm a 47-year-old guy, not a 22-year-old, guy. But I would like to reach those 22-year-old guys, and this is how people are doing it. So I got 10,000 followers overnight after I built this pond.
Wow.
Really?
Just like went to 10,000. I had like 200, and I went to 10,000
on YouTube
in
or?
24 hours on YouTube, because I built a pond for Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And he shouted it out, and I thank him all the time. Thank you for putting me on this journey, because it's so fun for me, and I still do. I said, man, I'm so proud of you, because he gave it up years ago. He's a WWE wrestler, and he's making his prime drinks. He was a serial entrepreneur,
right?
And he's still a good kid. And what's his favorite thing in the world? Koi fish. He still loves koi.
That's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. So what would you say as a parting wisdom to your listeners and our listeners as well, that, you could share that one last thing that they need to know in order for them to be successful?
Marry up.
Truth.
I would say, actually, we'll talk about my wife, since you've been helping her wonderfully. Thank you very much. Not something that I would have thought she would embrace, but you've done a brilliant job of making her comfortable and helping her get through the challenges that she's been dealing with. My wife, just like my dad, saying, I always knew you could find your way home and, make friends along the way when you were a little kid. My wife said, well, probably one of the nicest things my wife's ever said about me, and she was put on the spot at a training event that I was helping with the speaker. And I was like, ooh, what's she going to say? He said, what's one thing that people wouldn't know about your husband that you are proud of? That's kind of a big thing. And she said, and they got a little collective sigh from the audience, which was cute. She said, my husband's always working on himself. He's never stops. And it's like, why would you ever stop? Like, I just want to get better. Like, and so the reason I manifested you in my world is you helped me get better in a way that I didn't even know I really needed to get better. I just knew it wasn't a sustainable way of thinking and acting, and being upset about things that you couldn't control. And, so I would say the last piece of parting wisdom is just work on getting better. Like, why would everybody not want to just work on getting better? Whatever that is for them, know? And so that's my last piece of advice.
So with where you are, last question, hit your goals.
Yeah.
What strengths are you going to focus on for the next 12 months?
Well, the strengths that I have is promotion and, reaching people and inspiring. I can inspire people. That's fun for me to do, and I'm going to focus on doing more of that, which is including this podcast. So I'm looking forward to sharing this podcast with my followers, and however you decide to share it with yours because of your coaching, more power to you. It's, I love win-wins. I love where everybody wins. There's no win-lose here. I don't believe in win-lose. When I go vlog somebody, I win because I get the content. The content wins because I'm profiling this business, and the consumer wins because the manufacturer of the equipment is coming to showcase their world. Everybody's happy. I just love happiness. I love when everybody's happy and comes away with something. That's fun for me to do. If it was a win-lose, like I get and you lose, like that doesn't make me happy. That doesn't. I want to help. When you help other people get what they want, you get what you want. Yeah. And final words, because you said it. Final piece of advice: the greatest satisfaction in life. These are big platitudes. The greatest satisfaction in life comes from helping someone else reach their fullest potential. And it's not about you, it's about them. Any parent listening to this would be like, yeah, like my kids, I want my kids to far exceed whatever I've been able to, succeed in life. And of course, that also works for teammates. That also works for customers. So the greatest satisfaction in life is helping someone else. That will bring you the validation that you can do something, then see that. And here's the key word in that: fullest potential. Because some fullest potential might be head janitor, and others could be the president of, the company. And so my own son, who's entering the business through kind of a, little offshoot right now, I said, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you are going to be a laborer. I don't know if you are going to run the company, but whatever you do, I will support you. Of course, I would love to see him get to the high, but I will support him in whatever role he decides to take on. But my goal as a parent to him is reach his fullest potential, whether that's the head laborer or the president of the company.
As long as he does it to his best of his ability.
Yeah.
And the goal would be that, he has the work ethic and the drive and the passion and the energy, and
He loves what he does.
but he's 22.
Right.
Sure.
He doesn't know. And I don't know.
Right.
And that's okay. Let's figure it out by 23, 24, 25, you know.
And if it takes 30, that's okay too.
It takes 30. I can tell you he's happily married and we love his wife. So that's good.
I have a twin sister, Greg, that I think she's still figuring it out at 40.
Sure. Some people take longer than others, and
that's their
own path. That's their own
That's
journey.
their path. Well said. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for your wisdom.
Thanks.